So I went through and I was looking for a bunch of different stories, that we could talk about today. And one of the main focuses that a lot or the majority of these stories are going to focus on today is mobile payments and just mobile money, essentially. And I came across this story. It was one of the first stories that I came across. And it's a good intro to what we're going to be talking about today. And it's not something that I've really thought about before, and maybe you haven't thought about it either. But the headline was Zillennials, and I thought, what in the world is a Zillennial? First off, but it's Generation Z, and I'm not too good on when you have to be born to be Generation Z or X or so on and so forth. But I think it breaks it down a little bit further in this article here. But it says Zillennials are going to change investing forever, Bank of America says. So with that being said, we can come down here and it goes a little bit through what this Generation Z and what these Zillennials are into, what they're comfortable with. And it says stuff like eating out, eating meat is out, flight shaming is in. Generation Z is transforming the world and investors need to be prepared. Oh, right off the bat, if I want to be prepared about something, that's going to catch my attention. So we talk about Zillennials and what they're comfortable with and what they like to get into. And there's not too many stocks in this article. It doesn't really point out too many stocks. But it does say that a lot of them are, it says like 40% of Generation Z is more comfortable with talking and interacting with their friends online than they are actually in person. So they're much more likely to interact with all of their friends and associates and so on online than they are in person. Now, Generation Z is the group born between 1996 and 2016. So if I'm not incorrect, hopefully my sister's not watching this right now, but I'm pretty sure. Actually, I don't know. She might be 1994 now, so no, she might not even make the cut on that. But so in that case, I might not know anybody that's a Generation Z or interact with too many people that are Generation Z. But it says this last sentence here: sectors that will benefit include e-commerce, payments. Payments is a lot of what we're going to talk about today. Luxury, media, and ESG, according to Bank of America. While areas like alcohol, meat, cars, and travel could possibly suffer. So, they went through and did this whole big study on what Generation Z is into. And I also found it interesting that there's going to be an increased focus on Asia Pacific because it currently accounts for 37% of the Generation Z income. And that's set to rise to 41% by 2040.
That's a lot of folk.
Oh, absolutely, man. When you're talking about 37% of the money being focused in Asia Pacific, we're going to have to change our focus from maybe, the US or different cultural aspects that you're talking about when you talk about Asia Pacific. And just a few more. It's got a couple more statistics there. Like I said here with this 40% of the 16 to 18-year-olds would rather interact virtually with friends. And it's comparing it to the 35% of millennials and 30% of Generation Z. Glenn, I have no idea what generation you are, man. You might go all the way back to Generation A. Is that right?
Wow, I'm gonna punch you. I'm Generation X.
Virtual punch, right?
Well, I'm a virtual punch. Yeah, I am. I don't have my soundboard with me, but I'm Gen X.
Gen X, okay. All right. I would be a millennial then, so I think we got a couple different generations going on here, guys. So a couple different perspectives, but I thought this was really interesting. And after looking at this article, it made me start thinking about these payments because I look through a lot of articles just in my day-to-day, and I've been noticing a lot of stuff about like Square and Google Pay and different stuff in that aspect. And my dad, he uses Cash App for a lot of stuff, and it's kind of funny to think about my dad using Cash App, but
I use Cash App for my kids. My kids, because they don't live nearby, they're in Florida. Anytime they need money, I Cash App them money.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's it might be hard for some people to think, my grandpa, he would never do anything with Cash App. He would hand me a 20 before he would ever even trust an app to do anything with his money. But that's the direction it's heading. We can look at, my grandpa, to Glenn, to me, to this Generation Z, and we can see, a transition from cash payments to what's going to be, in my opinion, one day it could be 100% mobile and 100% virtual. So Cash App is by far a household name now, and Google is moving into the scene, and it's making some waves. And down here in the article, it says Google now lets users open a bank account through its Google Pay app, in partnership, of course, with Citi and Stanford Federal Credit Union, and that's going to be starting at the beginning of next year. So Google's actually going to get into bank accounts, so you're going to be able to keep your money through Google. And the tech giant is relaunching its payment app. Now, I do have Google Pay, or I did use Google Pay, I think, one time, but it never caught on for me. So maybe with this relaunch and this revamp, they're going to start making some waves and cutting into PayPal and Square's market share a little bit.
Well, I use Apple Pay on my phone.
Apple Pay, okay.
That's what I use. I use Apple. I'm Apple everything, but I use Apple.
Of course. See, and that's like I say, it could one day this could all be virtual, and people could say, "Cash? What is cash? Why would you ever use paper?" Somebody could just take it from you. No, I mean, there's an argument on both sides, obviously, but it's going to have a broad appeal, especially among younger population, the Generation Z, that's more tech-driven and mobile-focused. So this article isn't even related. It's not by the same people. But of course, they're relating this back to Generation Z, who is completely tech-focused, and they're okay with not being able to have that cash in hand. And of course, if you're going to Cash App somebody some money, who's going to say no to that, right? So with that being said, Glenn, I don't know. Do you want to go through any more of these articles, or do you want to go back and, you know what? This next article is on...
Let's go to Square. And I can relate to Square. I can relate to Square because a lot of you know that I'm also a mobile DJ. And Square gives the opportunity to pay me without having to give me cash. So I like it, and it's a stock that's been taken off for a long time, and for the same purposes, the ease of getting money from one person to another.
Absolutely.
Right? And without having to whip out cash or write a check or anything like that, swipe your card. So, swipe your card. It goes to my bank account right off of my phone or my iPad, right into my account, and there you go.
Absolutely. And, this article talks about Square rising as Google's facing a couple of headwinds as it's trying to launch this new app and getting it out there. And it basically just said, I would consider Square possibly one of the leaders right now. Cash App is, I read an article maybe last week or so. I forget the numbers now, but Cash App is a huge part of Square right now, and it's literally the driving force behind mobile payments. But with this article, it says that Square gained 3.5% in pre-market trading after KBW Sanjay, sorry about your last name there, said it's too early to tell if Google Pay's redesign is going to turn into a financial super app, and if it's going to pose a threat to Square's Cash App and PayPal's Venmo. So with that being said, I don't know, Glenn, you want to jump back into the program and see what these stocks are looking like right now?
So now the news is there. Let's go take a look at them. So you'll find them.
Yeah, so we got Google right here.
Okay.
I'll highlight a couple of them right now just so we can kind of see them a little bit better. We got Google, PayPal, and Square. I think that might be all. Yeah, I think that might be all that we had in here for the mobile payments.
All right, let's break them down real quick. We'll go through price, and we'll go through one indicator at a time. So on this story, we'll use RV, but we'll look at price and value.
So right off the bat, if I'm going to start with Google, Google's a very high-priced stock. It's currently trading at $1,751 per share, and it is overvalued. The value that we currently have is $1,694. So is it drastically overvalued? I would say no, definitely not at this price. This is a huge price stock, so it's not absurdly overvalued right now, but it is overvalued. And Dollar Chains is definitely up today. It's up about $11 and up a little over 0.5%, fluctuating throughout the day. And we're going to talk about relative value. Relative value is at 1.04, and this is right around the 1 area. So it is relative value, like all of our indicators, are on a scale of 0 to 2, and anything above 1 is going to be good, and anything below 1 is going to be bad or bearish. Not necessarily bad, but it's going to be bearish. We want to see indicators that are above 1. So with relative value above 1 right here, this is, well, it's slightly above 1. So this stock would be rated okay for relative value. Glenn, you want to take PayPal?
Sure. PayPal, a little bit over its value. The stock is considered to be overvalued. It just means that people are willing to pay a premium to own the stock. We look at the relative value on it. Now, relative value is the stock's long-term upside price appreciation potential. Notice that if you look at Google with an RV of 1.04 and then PayPal with an RV of 1.41, PayPal's got a bigger upside potential. All right, it may not be as big as Alphabet or Google, but it's got some good upside, and that's a good thing. And then I'll do the last one. Square 193, value 30. That stock is grossly overvalued. All right, now in this space, more stocks are going to take off in this space. Square, PayPal, they're all in this virtual payment field. So even all of the stocks in that field will tend to rise because the industry is running. But this stock is way over its value. You look at the relative value on it, 0.58. The stock does not have good upside potential as compared to PayPal and Alphabet. So what Clayton will do now is right-click on any one of those stocks. We'll take a look at the graphs so that you know the news. Put on a 3-month graph for me, please. You know
Absolutely.
the news. What's going on with Google? Well, even with the news, it's pulling back to that 20-day exponential moving average. All right. And look at the volume on it. The volume is falling on it as well. So you keep your eye on it if you own Google. If you own Google, you keep your eye on it. All I'm going to say is probably tighten your stops. RT is above 1. That's a positive sign. But also don't lose sight of where we are in the market with relative timing. With the MTI. Always remember, no matter what stock you're in, whether I'm in Apple or not, that MTI is telling me to be careful. That's so important. Go to the next one. You analyze that one. Go look at the graph on that one. There's Square.
Yeah, Square, we got the next one. And I remember this one was the one that was drastically overvalued. What's it trading at? $193, and the value was around $30 per share. Now, look, just because, now I'm not going to say go out and buy Square right now, but especially with it being overvalued like that. But just because it is overvalued doesn't take it off the list of stocks that you should be allowed to trade or that you should look at trading. Now, it might be a different story if you're talking about long-term investing and the potential is not necessarily there. But if you're into trading news, if you really like the mobile payment industry and you're thinking, wow, yeah, this Generation Z could drive a lot of demand. This mobile, revamp of Google Pay could drive a lot of demand into Google Pay, especially if you can link up a bank account. These are stocks that you can trade. And of course, Google's a pretty good investment too. But these are stocks that you can trade based on the news. So with that being said, it has pulled back from a recent high, pulled back to its 20-day weighted. Is it weighted? No, exponential moving average.
That's an exponential, yeah.
Yeah, so it pulled back to its 20-day exponential moving average and bounced back off of it. And today we see that it's rising again and could potentially come back up here and test this new high, and we could break out if we go beyond this new high. So right around $200 a share is a price where we could be getting into new high territory here. And we look at RT. RT's not only above 1, but it's rising as well. And today, maybe with all of the news surrounding it, we're trading on higher volume as well. Not too much higher than the average volume, I'd say, but it is higher than maybe the last week or so.
So keep in mind, as Clayton's story came out, it's talking about the Zillennials and their ability to be in this space.
Yes.
What we're looking at is stocks for you to take advantage of this space. So, you can say whatever you want to say. You know me, I'm not going to get on my high horse yet. But you know me, the story is the story. And what we're giving you is stocks to take advantage of the story.
Absolutely.
And for anyone, and for anyone who's talking about how the Trending Thursday is done this week, hold your horses. All right. It's being done this way for a reason. And I don't need to put the reason out, but it's being done for a reason. And I think Clayton is doing an outstanding job.
Well, thank you, Glenn.
Whether you agree with it or not is totally up to you. But this is what we're doing. All right. So we're still making sure Trending Thursday is here for you. We're still going to give you the information that we do every week. We're not skimping on that. Clayton is doing an outstanding job on making this happen. And he's doing it as a favor to me based on where we are right now. So that's all I got to say about that. Let's go look at the last stock, Clayton. Thank you, sir. Whoa! Yep. PayPal don't look to be the best of the
definitely trending sideways there, huh?
It is trending sideways.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about looking at a graph, all right, the cool thing about looking at a graph is you get to make a decision on which stocks in the space really do look good and which stocks in the space really need some work. And looking at that PayPal, that one needs a little bit of work. That one needs a little work. Would you say, Clayton?
I'd say so. And when I think about mobile payments, PayPal is like the first one that pops into my mind. Just because I had PayPal first. I don't know if it was necessarily one of the first mobile payments to come out or one of the mobile apps to come out, but I had PayPal first, so that's kind of like the throwback or the classic when I'm thinking about it. So, with the news coming out on this, maybe it's not something that's necessarily going to move PayPal as much. It might be a little bit more steady since it's one of the first into the space, but I did notice that maybe it was last week or a couple weeks ago, and it could be right around this area here, PayPal started letting you buy Bitcoin and started letting you get into Bitcoin, just like Cash App does.
And Square was part of that story. I did that on Trending Thursday. Both of them are getting into Bitcoin, yes.
Yeah. So that could be, and I'm just speculating here, but that could be something around here with this move, because I know it was very recent when that took place. But something like that could drive it a lot more than a story, just about Google coming into the payment space.
And I'm with you that I've had PayPal. I think PayPal was the first one out there. Yeah. I've had PayPal, but I've never used it. And really? I don't know why. Okay. But I do use my Cash App and I do use my Apple Pay. Okay. But the cool thing is the conversation going around about all of these different avenues or venues or abilities to pay. And that's what the story is all about. And these are the stocks that are taking advantage of that.
Yes.
So I like the story and I like the stocks that you got. PayPal, in my opinion, kind of went the way of eBay did. I think PayPal is still out there. I
use eBay, Glenn.
I don't use eBay. Wow. Yeah, that's old.
That might be why I'm still using PayPal, because I still use eBay.
Hey, if you like this content, guess what? You can join us live every Thursday at 2 p.m. here on YouTube. Join VV Nation. We hope to see you there.